Millions of Americans could lose access to essential health care. Some are at risk of dying because of it. The real-life fear and danger of the government continuing to try to tell us what we can and can't do with our own bodies is still very much here in 2023. Thankfully, the coordinated offense on the right to choose has been met with some coordinated defense. Democratic governors across the country have responded swiftly to the recent attacks on reproductive rights. For example, you've got Washington State. It was the first of many states to stockpile mifepristone. Almost 2 weeks ago, Democratic Governor Jay Inslee bought 40,000 doses of that drug, enough to go around for about 4 years. Other states, they followed suit almost immediately. Massachusetts, New York, California, Maine. The list is growing as we speak. These proactive moves to protect reproductive rights, they are absolutely important. And this past January, Governor Inslee explained exactly why.
You know, political theater aside, I don't see any world in which Washington State changes course on this issue.
I'm trying to say this in a respectful way. What world are you living in? There is a party in our state that wakes up every single morning trying to take away this right from women.
Washington State Governor Jay Inslee joins me now. Thank you very much for being here, sir. Let's just start where you left off. The people in Washington State, they are not immune from the assault on abortion rights and access to care because you're the governor.
No woman is safe while the Republican Party is at large right now trying to take away this issue of freedom. And this is a matter of freedom. This is the ultimate issue of freedom in America today. To think that any politician can order any woman to have a forced pregnancy is the ultimate intrusion of the most intimate, the most impactful thing, your own body, your own family life. This is the largest insult of freedom that we can imagine, and we can't depend on the judicial system. That's why we acted early in my state to buy the mifepristone, so we stockpiled it. Now, there is some good news here, though. No matter what happens to this Texas court case, even if the Supreme Court, even if the Trump court were to affirm it, we still can deliver this product in Washington State because of our state laws. And that's why we stockpiled it, to make sure that we can produce and protect this freedom using mifepristone in the state of Washington.
So, Governor, when was the moment that it became clear to you that stockpiling mifepristone was necessary in this moment?
Well, when we saw a decision draw near of the Texas court, we know that the Trump courts have women in the bullseye of taking away this freedom right. If you look at the court, the Trump appointee in Texas, it wasn't based on science. It wasn't based on medicine. It wasn't based on pharmaceutical facts. It was simply based on ideology to try to appeal this narrow band of Americans. And it is a narrow band. This is a 70-30 issue. The vast majority of Americans in almost every state believe that this right should not be taken away from women. So as soon as we saw that as imminent, we acted. We got it into our hands within about 3 or 4 days, and we had it in our hands before the court order. That was what was important, because as long as we have it in our possession, we can distribute it to women through our health clinics under our state law. Now, I'm hopeful that the court, and there still is some possibility that even this Trump court will understand that the Republican Party is in great trouble right now because they are on the wrong side of America, and they are starting to feel the heat. And that's why why you had this DeSantis, signed his anti-abortion bill at, the dead of night, now won't talk about it because they know they're wrong. And they know they're contrary to the vast majority of Americans. So even the Trump Supreme Court may want a pass on this one. But even if we get a good ruling out of the Supreme Court, the Republicans will still come back, like in Idaho, where in Idaho, in my adjoining state, the legislature is trying to impede on a woman's ability to cross state lines to enjoy a legal right in the state of Washington. Idaho thinks they can come into Washington and control what is legal or not legal in Washington. That will not stand. So we've got to be creative and vigilant. That's the price of freedom here.
Governor, you talk about these dueling cases, obviously Texas and the ruling out of Washington State, and then what the Supreme Court will do. Before we go to Idaho, what will you do if the Supreme Court issues a decision next week that ends up siding with the Texas judge, or let's just even say the Fifth Circuit?
We will distribute the product because under Washington law, we are allowed to distribute this product even if it does not have FDA approval. Now, that sounds a little strange, but it is the law, and the Supreme Court decision would not contravene that law. This is the reason we stockpiled it, because once it is in our possession, the FDA does not have authority to preempt or overcome our Washington state law. So the Supreme Court decision will not affect our ability to move forward. But I'm still glad that our excellent Attorney General Bob Ferguson did win an injunction to essentially stop the FDA from repealing this approval, and that applies in 18 states. So I'm glad that we have that. That helps the other 17 states. In some sense, we're already protected because of our ability now to distribute this product. But one way or another, this is a rallying cry to all of us who believe in this, that we got to vote. And we have to vote on this issue because in every race in America today, this is an issue, from state legislatures to governors to U.S. senators to presidents. It's up to us to protect this freedom right. We can't depend on the Trump courts.
Governor Inslee, did you ever, I mean, obviously I worked in Democratic politics for a very long time, and a year and a half ago, I would even argue 2 years ago, I don't think anyone would have thought that a Democratic governor in America would have uttered the sentence you just uttered right now, urging folks to go out and vote, and that Democratic governors themselves thought that abortion was an issue that they could win on.
Oh, well, listen, I don't look at this through an electoral lens. That's not the reason I take this position. It's something my wife Trudy and I have believed for decades. When I first ran for Congress, I ran in a very red Republican district in eastern Washington. But one of the first commercials I ran was expressing my pro-choice beliefs, and I won in a tremendous upset. This is where the heart of the American people are. I don't say this because of electoral advantage. I say it because I believe in this is an ultimate freedom issue. And I know some of these Republican politicians, you know, I get along with them in some sense, but there is not one single Republican senator and there is not one single Republican governor who ought to be ordering one single American woman in any state to have a forced pregnancy. They are not that wise. They are not that divine. And they are not empowered by, in my belief, our system of government to order a woman to carry a pregnancy. That's just a fundamental belief of mine.
Governor, I would also say they're not my doctor, okay, and anybody else's doctor. I think
exactly right.
We're out of time, sir, but I want to leave the people with this, because you talked about Idaho. Idaho recently passed a bill that the governor signed that essentially tries to tell you and other states what you all can do. They've criminalized someone leaving the state, a minor, without getting permission from their parent to get an abortion and going to another state. And you wrote a letter to the governor of Idaho, and we're going to put a piece of that up on the screen for folks. But I thought that your words in this were so poignant and profound, and you said that we will protect our providers and we will harbor and comfort your residents who seek health care services that are denied to them in Idaho. Governor Inslee, I would venture to say, it's not just Idaho, you might be ready to give comfort and harbor to lots of folks from across the country. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee, we appreciate you, sir, your time, and I appreciate your fight.
You bet.